welcome to the weekly live stream for adult guitar players. And I have Justin, who's just getting in here from an English exam or English presentation that was running over, and that's awesome. So yeah, this is our weekly quest to help adult guitar players be rock stars around the campfire. If this is your first time joining us, you can find a link in the comments on our Facebook page that takes you to the smithmusic.ca website under our free resources tab, and you can follow all of this right from the beginning. Let's get to it and rock the house. All right, and so I'm going to bring my guests in, and today, we have Doug and we have Justin. Thanks, guys, for joining me.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, all good. So you were running late on an English presentation, and that's the new way of the world, right? Where things are all over, and I really appreciate that you made time to join us today, Justin.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to do an essay. It's wonderful.
Well, you couldn't blow off school for this? You know?
Yeah, I know, right? I don't quite think my teacher would like that, so.
Well, I'm pretty sure Doug is blowing off work and all of those kinds of things. That's good. So I'm going to put us in gallery view so everybody can see everybody. And I'd texted both of you guys earlier. Justin had kind of brought up a point that was brought up earlier in this series about being able to, kind of solo over everything and having some riffs to use. And so there's kind of the bigger topic as I want to show you guys over time. It's not going to happen in one lesson, but how to, steal your favorite riffs from guitar solos and put them into your own solos. And Doug, your kind of bigger question over time has been very similar, which is when you're playing around the campfire and there's a place for a solo section, how do you know what to do and when to do it? So that's kind of what I'm hoping we can start working down the process a little further today.
Perfect.
So, there's kind of several ways of handling this. And Doug, because you also do private lessons with me as well, we were working on getting you to understand one key. And this is what I recommend to a lot of people. And I think it was the key of A major. Is that the one we chose?
Correct.
Okay. So for the purposes of today, Justin, we're going to keep things in A major, and which is actually really good for even players that can move around different keys, is to actually study one in depth and get really good at it. And then you kind of make a concerted effort to start moving around to a whole bunch of different keys, because there are some specifics, key of E minor or G major on guitar. There's lots of open notes that you can use and different things. I usually don't recommend that one as a key to start with. I usually like either C major or something where most of what happens is fretted notes, because then it's easiest to move up and down. Kind of starting from the beginning on this, I'd asked Doug if, there was kind of three riffs that he had or some riffs that he has, because I think a good bare bones launching point to learn how to do solos is to have like two or three riffs that that you can move to any key and get to know them in one key and then work at moving them to different places. And Justin, do you have anything like that? Like, riff, and they don't have to be long. They can be 4 and 5 notes long, but some of your, kind of favorite riffs. I know there was a Prince song you had brought up in a previous lesson that you like kind of the solo part, but do you have any, super cool riffs that you really love?
Yeah, for sure. Like in band class, when there's a guitar solo, depending on the key of the song, obviously you have to move your hands around. So there are a few that I like to play around with in general, especially like using the pentatonic scale.
Okay, so is there anything that you can specifically show me, like a cool riff that you really like that you come back to again and again?
I think Doug might like this one. It's got a little bit of country. This would be in G, I think, if I can do that properly.
Cool. That's kind of country, kind of blues. So you're correct. That was in G minor.
Yeah.
Something like that is what you played.
Yeah.
Let's get Doug up to speed on that one. I think Doug will really like that one.
Yeah, it's cool.
Did you kind of get it? I heard it going a bit in the background.
I'm close.
Can you play it one more time for me, Justin? Okay, so it was, and then I think you went, that's what you did, right?
Yep.
So, can you see that, Doug?
Yep.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to, before I show it to you there, I'm going to move it to F sharp minor because we're doing things in the key of A major. So I'm actually moving it down a fret.
Okay.
So this is. Yeah, and if you throw the little hammer in there. Yeah. Yeah, and then I don't know if Justin went back to this note.
Okay.
There you go. That's super cool. And this is not about having it exact because we're going to change a lot of this anyway. And then, Doug, the one that you were doing that I always kind of half play correctly that you did in G before was. It was something like that. And it was basically using those notes.
Yeah.
And so moving that to A, we're going to play that 2 frets higher. And I'm going to give you guys both. And I would actually play that like that. That's a really popular hand position to do. Yep, Justin's got a handle on that. Cool. And you know what? That's 2 riffs. That's perfect. That's a nice little bit of information. One is from the major perspective and one is from the minor perspective. And they're both in the same key, which I know Justin understands and Doug is starting to understand why that works like that.
Yeah.
And so then the other thing that I'm going to give you is not a specific riff, but it is way back in the first lesson before you were here, Doug. I'd said to use the middle 4 notes of the pentatonic scale, which in F sharp would be those 4 notes. And so what we practiced doing was playing a solo only using those 4 notes where you
Okay.
There you go. So now we really have 3 things. So we have our riff that I'm almost forgetting now from Justin, which I know I changed it a little bit, but it's close.
It's cooler your way, no worries.
And then we actually used this top note. Let's go to the right camera angle there. This is actually the octave note of A. I should never play when I'm looking at the camera because I always go wrong. But that's just the top note that's super commonly used. Yeah, and so, okay, so we got our 3 riffs, which is super cool. And really, a person can do a whole night of soloing only on that. Just so you know, that's more than enough to be able to have a great night of soloing, especially around the campfire. Solos are not unending new sequences that haven't happened before. So we're staying in the key of A. Now, the other thing that we can do is we got our, 3 things that we can do, and they're all very low, right? So some of what actually starts to extend us as guitar players is putting things in new places, because then we look at them differently. So the simplest way to do that is throw everything up an octave, which for the F sharp riff that we had from Justin. So our F sharp is our 2nd fret here, which an octave higher is our 14th fret, right? And so Justin was playing something like...
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it gets a little bit tougher, especially on acoustic guitar. for that higher part. So, you know, you probably wouldn't do that on electric guitar or on acoustic guitar. And, but that's like the simple, okay, so now we have 3 things that have kind of become 6 because we can also play those same 4 notes right in this center, up an octave higher.
Right.
Yeah. So now let's pretend, actually, let's not pretend. I don't have to pretend. I'm going to pull up a backtrack in A major backtrack. Okay, and so this is, I'm just going to click on the first backtrack that comes up. And it says it's a pop rock backing track. And we have a YouTube ad, of course.
Get up to $4,500 cash per.
There we go. Free advertising for whoever that was. So this is A, E minor, F sharp, and D. So then we have, I'm going to use those 3 riffs and play just over top of that. So using Doug's first one. And then I'm going to move to Justin's. Right? Then I'm going to go to just the 3 notes, or those 4 notes. Now, watch what happens when I play. I'm going to play a couple of these low, and then I'm going to move them up an octave higher, and I'm going to play the same ones. They actually sound different to the ear. First one. And you could fill 30 seconds with that. Super easy.
Wicked.
Does that kind of make some sense? And Doug's laughing and falling out of his chair.
No, I just so I did a little experiment last week, and we did some social distancing. And I had 2 guitar players come over because I have a relatively big place to play guitar. So we sat and everyone threw up and played some songs that they know. And we all had different goals. One guy's a bit of a newbie. Another guy has to play with always looking at sheets, doesn't really know much off the top of his head. So we all had some goals to work on. And one of my goals was I was going to solo as they played. That didn't go so well. And it's trying to keep time with everybody, and I need to do more of what you're just doing. I need to get a backtrack play and just get comfortable. My fingers move right. I know where I'm supposed to be, and now it's just to execute, really.
Yeah, and so a couple of things that I want to point out that I did as I was playing along with that, I roughly, but less than I normally would, but I was not really keeping the timing that was in the original riffs.
Yeah.
Right. I was trying to with that one from Justin just so that it was recognizable, but it really is. These are the notes that work.
Yeah.
You know, or a small subset, really. And so then we have these basic kind of few things that we can do. And I've said, and I'm going to say it 1,000 more times, that we have control over the 3 things, which is notes we play, timing we play them with, and the tone we play them on. Now, when you're on acoustic guitar, your tone choices are fairly limited. You got the guitar you got, and that's cool.
Right.
But when you're playing along with a backtrack, if you do have an electric guitar, and this certainly works great with acoustic, it's fine. But I would recommend, pulling up, this is a pop rock backing track is what they called it. And then a blues backtrack, all in the same key, all in A major or F sharp minor. And playing sometimes clean, soloing clean, sometimes with a little bit of gain, sometimes with a lot of distortion. And then trying to get as much different timing as you can, like of the backtracks underneath of you, because that's going to be probably the major thing, to make your solos not sound all the same.
Yeah,
Does that make a little bit of sense?
for sure.
So now, does anybody have another device, or we can probably do it maybe even on the same device, like a phone or something like that, that you can put on a backing track, and I can get you to use those, 3 things to do like a 15-second solo?
I'm using my phone for Zoom, so I don't have another device around, but I might be able to grab.
Doug looks like he has one.
Yeah, Paul, you just tell me where I go to find these said backing tracks.
So if you go to YouTube and type in A major backing track, and you will get hundreds that come up. And Justin, it's all good. If you can't, you can actually do it. Your video will disappear from us for a minute, but you can do it on the phone that you're using for Zoom, and that's totally fine. That's all good. So I'll get Doug to do one first. And Doug, it won't be the best audio experience for me or our audience, but if you have the phone fairly close to your laptop that you're on, then we'll be able to hear that.
Sure. I got one.
Okay. And so
that's even acoustic.
Nice.
That's
okay.
Cool.
Cool. Right. I'm going to stop you there. That's really good, because that's you using only one of them.
That's right.
And that actually sounded pretty cool.
Okay, now I got something to work on. That's for sure. Yeah. More things to work on, but
now I did want to show you, and this is not something that's wrong. When you bend, because you're wanting to bend this 9th fret here, it works, but when you bend, you always want to make sure that you're bending to a note of the scale. So typically that's a half step or a whole step. So you want the note when you bend it to sound like that other one. So the one that's on the scale is the A flat. So I can't bend up that high. I can go this way. But then A is there. So that's a tough note to bend in the key of A, just from an experience standpoint. And here's why, is because when you bend it, you're now on an A flat in the key of A, which gives you that sound.
Right.
Okay. So you'd be further off to bend the E here to sound like the F sharp. Right? Instead of playing the note.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's the one that gets used a lot on that, is we have our octave note here.
Yeah.
The next one after that, that's actually like the one that's like the tasty note. Now, I know that's out of the scope of what you were looking at, but if you wanted to add that, in, that's like the pro guitar player tip of the day.
Yeah, but that makes a lot of sense on the bend. I would just have to get comfortable enough knowing what part of the scale where you go to that next half rather than, up 2 frets. Because if I go to bend on that, I understand the concept.
Yeah. And what I'm also in a couple of minutes going to give you guys the quick cheats on bending notes, the notes that are super sweet, that are used a lot in the key, because then when you're looking at wanting to bend, you're going to know exactly where to be. So Justin, is there a backtrack that you can throw on? And we still do have him on there, even though he looks like he disappeared. So you can throw on a backtrack, and we'll see if we can hear you and the backtrack at the same time.
All right, so we just want like A major.
Yeah, or you can look up F sharp minor, same key, whichever backtrack you want.
All right, I can just get this to load.
It's all good. We are nothing if not the king of awkward live streams.
All right, just let me know if it's too loud or anything, because the mic will be, and the speaker is my phone.
Yep. Well, can you still see me on there?
Sadly, no, because I'll be on YouTube.
That's all good. So don't go longer than, say, 20 seconds or so.
All right. Can you guys hear that?
Actually, we can't. I can't. I'm not sure if it's going through the stream. Okay, so that's not going to work. That's fine. That's all good, Justin. We can, we'll bring you back, but you definitely can practice this.
Yeah.
As a concept. Okay. So then, now the other thing, so we have those, 3 places to solo, which I think that is very, very underrated. Just playing the exact same thing 1 octave higher, it builds a huge dynamic in your solo. Could you feel that when I did that before?
For sure.
Yeah. So now, okay, this is the sweet bends. Both of you know your pentatonic scale, and this is, you can let me know if I'm going too far out of the scope of things, but we have our pentatonic scale in F sharp minor, because we're in, right? Yeah. The big 3 are the high note on your first, second, and 3rd string. Those are the big ones. Those are like the bends that always work.
Sweet.
There you go. And Justin, you got the blues face down. I love it.
Yeah.
But you actually have to when you're bending on acoustic.
You have, it's the law, because like,
the law.
If you're not making like a disgusting face when you're playing, you're not playing with enough effort. It's the rules.
Yeah, if it doesn't look like something smells bad, you don't have the right face on.
Yeah.
So Doug, did you get that about those big 3 notes?
Yeah, I'm just trying to do the mechanics behind why. So on the pentatonic, like if I look at the A major scale, I have quite a few places that, there's just a single skip on a fret to the next note, but on the pentatonic, it's not. So
So that's a great, that's a great question. So a lot of these bends, like this one here, is using the note out of the natural minor scale. So it's actually pulling more notes of the scale in than just pentatonic. And so this second string, and that's partly why they sound so good when you're playing the pentatonic scale, because you're actually getting to add more notes in. Because when I bend here, when I bend this E, sorry if I bent it correctly, it's actually becoming this F sharp. Right? And this A becomes this B.
Yeah.
So it can get more complicated than that, but what I would actually say is, for now, to keep things simple for yourself, especially for you, Doug, is use those 3 notes as your bend notes, and then you can try other notes, but really think about it and evaluate when you bend them. Does this actually sound good? Right?
Yeah.
Is it hitting the song correctly?
Essentially, a small check is to run through your riff and play the next, instead of skipping, play the next fret up. And if it doesn't sound good, don't bend to that. Because that's,
That's exactly right. That's a great way of looking at that. I love that, Doug. That's super cool. And certainly there are other notes that work. They all work to bend as long as you're staying within the scale.
Yeah.
Right. But there are some times where playing that A flat, for example, in the key of A just sounds awful.
Yeah.
Right. So now the if and at the point that sorry, my screen just got hijacked from my mail deciding it wanted to join. Okay. The if you take these three things, and I'm gonna put this to Justin a little bit more, and Doug, if you get lost, just kind of let me know. But I think you'll be able to follow this. We're in the key of A. So Justin, we have back to our first riff, key of A major.
Yep.
In order to give yourself more diversity but stay safe, are there some other places that you think you can play that on the fretboard? Either in the same octave or an octave higher or anything like that?
Well, you could just dump it to like past the 12th fret. So instead of on 5, it would be on like 17. If you had like on an electric, you could really go up higher.
Yeah.
Or you could also just use that octave note and then start the lick. Nope. Like that.
Yep. So now that's going to make you memorize another hand position. You are 100% correct. And if you're cool to remember another hand position, that's fine. This is how we get more out of the same riffs that we know. Right? So is there there's another spot that I want to see if you can find it. It's on your 5th string. Where would you play A on your 5th string? And I may be guiding you a little bit too much, but
you could just play the open.
You could totally play the open. And on acoustic, if you have a cutaway, you could play it on your 12th fret.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah. Now, taking that, so if I take that and I put on this backtrack that's provided by, let's give them some credit. This is Jam Tracks on Demand. And I'm going to put you on close cam here. So now I have that first riff that we started out with. And the open. There's 3 places of playing the same thing, and you notice they all sounded just slightly different.
Yeah.
Now, we're in bonus round. Justin, and I'm gonna point this out. You can tell me if I'm trying not to go too far. I just get so excited with these lessons. The one riff that you showed us, Justin, was that, right?
Yeah, something like that.
When I play this riff on the open, you notice that I'm almost playing exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
This is where these scales overlap. Kind of cool, hey?
Yeah, for sure. Well, if it's in the same key signature, yeah, it's a lot about figuring out what notes work and then shifting those around and seeing what sounds good.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of like just playing with the backing track and developing that good sense of what really works comes into play.
Absolutely. And so one of the things that sets stringed instruments apart and some woodwinds and some other instruments, but compared to like piano or something like that, is that we have like there's 6 different places to play your high E. Right, or there's 5, at least I can get to on this guitar. So hand positions for guitar matter. Put your hand in a different spot, you're going to see it differently, you're going to react differently, and you're going to think differently.
Yeah.
Now, Doug, how did you do with that little discussion that Justin and I had there? Did you follow?
Yeah, I'm coming up the backstretch fast. I get like jumping to open A was right away. I found it, and then I'm like, I should be able to go down to my 12th fret and find it and play it. So
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Okay, so here's what I want you to do, Doug. Because you have the ability to play along with the backtrack there, I want you to, you can just put the same backtrack on, and I want you to use that same singular riff now in those 3 positions and build a solo out of it.
Okay, sure.
There you go. There
That's
you
awesome.
go. That making some sense?
That makes some sense. I hit a couple of wrong spots, but yeah.
That's what we call jazz.
Yeah.
So the point on this is, and by the way, Doug, what you played there, that was probably a good, I don't know, I'm just guessing, that was a good 15, 20 seconds. In a live show, that'd be an average length solo. In around a campfire, that'd be half a solo. At a Paul Smith show, that'd be a quarter of a solo. I'm kidding. So that's about the right amount of time to build your beginning, middle, and end.
Cool.
It's, once you start to actually limit the amount of time you do a solo, you start to realize, oh, it actually takes, it's not as hard to fill as what a person usually thinks.
Right. And especially around the campfire, most people will give you sort of one wrap around the chord progression, and then they're back to singing the song again. So you don't have a ton of time.
Yeah, and around the campfire, when they give you 2 rounds around it, they liked what they heard the first time.
That's
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and when you get 4, that means everybody's had just a little too much alcohol.
Right. You gotta look up and see if anybody's around.
That's right. There you go. So I think that's actually like a pretty tight, piece of information that both of you guys can use. What I'd like to see, if it's possible throughout the week, for you guys to spend just a little bit of time. It doesn't have to be tons. I mean, the more time you spend on this, the better, because it does take a certain amount of hours. And then if next time you can come with another device that we can hear, I want to hear both of you play, something in the key of A, and it doesn't have to be just the 3 riffs that we talked about. If it is, and you've built on them, that'd be awesome. If it's new ones, that's awesome too. But I want it to be things, the kinds of riffs that you can take with you for life, or at least grow out of a little bit. Because I think, because this is now, we're into soloing around the campfire, which I love.
Yes, this is good.
Any questions from either of you guys on that?
No, I think
that was a big step for me today. That sort of locked a lot of pieces together. That's good.
That's cool. And Justin, did you get enough new stuff out of this to have it make some sense?
Yeah, for sure. I think what I'm gonna try, because in jazz, when we were doing like blues and stuff, we learned a lot of different scales as well. Like we had stuff like that, and I want to try soloing in those instead of maybe just doing a pentatonic or major scale, and see how that works out, because now you have like a raised second note and a flattened, I think would be the 4th maybe, and just seeing how all that fits in a song.
Yeah, so they're using the blue note in that. So if we were in F sharp, so So those are really cool, and typically, just as a little pro tip for you as you're going, you're not going to typically like really hang on that note. Like you can, like sometimes it works, right? But to go into, but as notes in between, those are going to be super cool. So that's how you'll want to look at those kind of borrowed notes.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's really no rules on this. If it sounds good, it is good. That's the only rule.
Wonderful.
Okay, I'm excited to see what you guys come up with, and I can't wait to see you next week. And next week is the long weekend, but I'm still here because I think that, you know, everybody in quarantine, all the weeks are starting to look the same, and I think that this is still a cool thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
All
Perfect.
right. Thank you guys so much. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see you guys both next week.
All right.
Awesome.
See you, man.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks.